On Monday night, Billy Joel performed a song that was perfect for the times. And surprisingly, no, it was not We Didn't Start the Fire. It's Tuesday, it is May 12th, and this is the Currents Music News. Hi, I'm Jade.
And I'm Jay. It remains to be seen whether a concert planned for Friday night in Arkansas goes off as planned. This is a country rock concert where social distancing requirements are meant to be met, but the governor says it does not meet his pandemic lockdown standards. So we'll see if that happens. But it's clear that at least some artists and fans are ready to get right back in there as soon as it is legally possible for concerts to resume. When we described the conditions that concert is going to have to meet, it made it sound like no show you've ever been to before, and a new report from the Event Safety Alliance makes clear that, yep, until we have a coronavirus vaccine, live music is going to look and feel very different. In a 29-page report based on extensive research, the authors of the study argue that venues need to focus on a few key areas. First of all, fan education, letting people know things are going to be different. Here's what they need to do to stay safer. Staff hygiene, desanitizing everything or sanitizing everything all the time, disinfecting everything, cleaning everything always, and setting things up so that normally crowded concert venues leave people able to keep as much social distance as possible. And the report points out that may be especially important for the artists themselves. I think my favorite quote from the report is, quote, "Musicians often breathe deeply and expel aerosols further than people engaged in non-physical activities."
I'm used to that at live shows, that idea of being in the front row, holding on to the gate and just looking into the face of the artist and having them spray you with water or, maybe sometimes a bit of their sweat and breath. Who's really looking forward to getting back out there? Dave Grohl of Foo Fighters. He wrote this really beautiful sort of ode to the live show for The Atlantic, and he talked about how he's hungry for a big old plate of sweaty, ear-shredding live rock and roll ASAP. And I don't blame him. I feel the exact same way. And he's not saying, let's get back out there immediately. He does have that sort of like caution in place saying, yes, shows are on hold, and when we do have shows again, they might look different. But he also waxed poetic about the live Queen show and his own show when Bruce Springsteen came to the show and actually hung out in the audience, because that's where you really experience the live music. It's shoulder to shoulder, arms around each other, and breathing in and singing out together, that communal experience of the live show. And he said that it's gonna happen. Even if it looks different, we're gonna be back out there. We're gonna see the live shows again, because we need moments that reassure us that we're not alone, that we are understood, that we're imperfect, and most importantly, that we need each other.
And somehow he even managed to work a Max Headroom reference in there.
I know.
What a Gen X icon.
It's a lot. Yeah.
If you've been following our music news for a while, you might remember way back in August 2018 when we introduced you to Doja Cat. She's an LA rapper. At the time, she had a novelty hit called Moo, with an accompanying video where she danced around in a cow suit. It was cute, it was funny, people loved it. Well, now it has 72 million views, and Doja Cat has the biggest song in the country. No, it's not Moo, it's Say So, her single in a remix featuring Nicki Minaj. It's now #1 on Billboard's Hot 100, which makes that not just the first pop #1 for Doja Cat, but also for Nicki Minaj, who's had a handful of top 5 hits, but has never had the top spot until now. Meanwhile, at #2, you've got Megan Thee Stallion and Beyonce with Savage, so it's a dominant week for the dominant women in rap and R&B.
And speaking of people making moves in the music industry, there are some areas that have been put on hold, such as touring and releasing albums. And with the coronavirus pandemic, the whole music industry has sort of shifted and changed. And Pitchfork recently reached out to a couple of people who are considered the more vulnerable generation for the coronavirus. And that would be musicians and artists who are more mature. And so they spoke to them. And they found that by and large, actually the sort of maturity and having this like longevity in this long career makes you a bit more calm when a situation like a global pandemic happens when you're a musician. A couple of people they talked to, Bettye LaVette, she's a soul singer and she has been in the industry forever. She's probably been on every single label that you can think of immediately in your head. And so she actually was supposed to release a brand new album. It's been pushed back. Her tour has been canceled. And she sounded pretty calm about it. She said she's staying home with her husband and her cats. She's missing her grandchildren, and she's mourning her peers like John Prine. And she said, as far as day-to-day goes, she said, you talk about coping. If I didn't have this champagne, if I didn't have this marijuana, I'd have a story to tell you. And they also spoke to outlaw country artist Terry Allen, who's waiting it out in Austin, Texas. And he talks about being on his porch and seeing his grandchildren drive by, making faces at them. But he also reflects on, the history of other big global things like 9/11, the JFK assassination, things that sort of changed the atmosphere in general. And he said, you know what, though? Music industry always comes back. It might be a little different, but those artists always find a way to get back on stage. And he said, in the meantime, he's been staying in touch with some of his friends in the industry. And he said for many of them, it's the only time they've had to sleep in 40 years.
That's today's music news. We'll be back with another update, so like and follow us. You can be sure to catch it. In the meantime, listen to The Current on your radio, on your smart speaker, on our app, on our web stream, and click in the comments to let us know what music news stories are meaningful to you right now. As Jade mentioned earlier, last night was the big telethon, Rise Up New York, with big artists like Mariah Carey, Jennifer Lopez, Lin-Manuel Miranda, all coming together virtually to raise money for COVID-19 relief. But needless to say, the star of the show was the guy who got the personal introduction from Andrew Cuomo, governor of New York, Billy Joel. And the lights of the Empire State Building danced, billboards in Times Square lit up as he played a song called Miami 2017. This was actually a Billy Joel song I wasn't as familiar with, despite the title. It was written in 1976. It's kind of an eerily prescient song about persistence in the face of, well, really tough conditions.
The piano man himself, Mr. Billy Joel.
I seen the lights go out on Broadway. I saw the Empire State lay low. Life went on beyond the Palisades. They all bought Cadillacs and they left there long ago. They held a concert out in Brooklyn to watch the island bridges blow. They turned our power down and drove us underground, but we went right on with the show.